Welcome back. Novak Djokovic might not be competing at this year's Australian Open, but there has been plenty to keep fans interested in the action from Melbourne. American Coco Gauff lost on the opening day, but men's 6th seed Rafael Nadal, who is seeking a record 21st Grand Slam title, made easy progress to the second round. And on Tuesday's second day, the Brits dominated the spotlight with US Open Women's Champion Emma Raducanu and former men's #1 Andy Murray, both completing hard-fought wins. Here's Ricardo Chambers with a roundup.
Champion Emma Raducanu taking on Sloane Stephens in a highly anticipated Australian Open first-round encounter. The 19-year-old Raducanu making a fast start, destroying the American in the opening set.
Well, what a set of tennis from Emma Raducanu. 17 minutes, 6-love.
28-year-old Stephens, the 2017 US Open champion, who has been to at least the quarterfinals of all the slams, would respond. This was one of the points of the match, both trading baseline shots before Stephens finished off with a backhand winner from mid-court.
Great point from Sloane Stephens. That might fire her up.
It did fire up the world number 65 as she took the second set 6-2. Third set, the first time Raducanu was playing a decider in a Grand Slam, but that didn't faze her. The Brit shrugging off some tense early moments, going on to seal the set 6-1 as she maintained her unbeaten tag in completed Grand Slam matches.
Welcome to Melbourne. Emma Raducanu opens her Australian Open account with a win.
Another Brit, Andy Murray, was also a winner on Tuesday. The former world #1 and a 5-time Australian Open finalist outlasted the big-hitting Georgian Nicholas Basilashvili in a 4-hour 5-set thriller. Murray winning 6-1, 3-6, 6-4, 6-7, 6-4.
Murray conjures up a win for the ages. 2019, he was gone. 2022, he's back, and back with a vengeance.
Very good win for the 34-year-old who was hoping to watch the Raducanu-Stephens match on television, except Australian broadcasters were not showing it, so he took to Twitter. Come on, Channel 9, let's get Raducanu-Stephens on one of the channels instead of 2 times Rod Laver.
Of course, that wrap there by Ricardo Chambers. Leighton, we had Emma Raducanu. She competed brilliantly at the US Open, and now she's taking part in the Australian Open, starting off with a bang.
Yeah, and of course, beating Sloane Stephens. Sloane has not been the same athlete she was after winning the US Open in 2017. Her best finish in a Grand Slam since that time was a 4th round exit, I think, last year, 2018, sorry. And of course, Raducanu now, unknown last year, comes through and wins the US Open. Now it's going to be interesting to see how she plays now that she has a target on her back, because now she's known, she's a Grand Slam champion. Let's see how she handles that pressure. So far, she's looked good, but let's see what happens in the later rounds.
Yeah, in the wrap, Ricardo made mention of even Andy Murray saying that when the men's game was on, saying that, the channel needed to do better and switch to the women's game, and we get the sense that the appeal for these young women now in tennis has, skyrocketed. Yeah,
it is, because there's a brand new crew now, because there's no Serena Williams, there is not the usual big stars are there. There's a whole bunch of young athletes, Barty and others, who are coming through now to be the new wave of women's tennis. And I think they deserve equal time on air, and it's something that has been prevalent in most sports over the years, where the men hold pride of place and the women tend to be secondary. But as we saw in track and field last year at the Olympics, it was the women who commanded the attention, not the men. And I think tennis needs to take a page out of that book, and of course give women pride of place.
Yeah, and speaking of Andy Murray, as I mentioned him before, he won his game in 5 sets. Just happy to see him back in his fighting spirit. It's no secret how he has handled his injury and the injuries that he's dealt with.
Listen, the wave of injuries and surgeries that Andy Murray has had to endure over the past few years. Remember, he had actually considered retirement. That's how bad things were for him. So to see him come back now and a struggling with fighting win is encouraging because you'd like to see him come through as one of the old guard. Of course, Rafael Nadal is there looking to perhaps win his 21st Grand Slam championship. But the thing is, it's nice to see some of the old guard like Andy Murray come back and play as well as he did today.
Well, I won't be satisfied if we wrap this segment without mentioning, are you missing Novak Djokovic?
No, I'm not. I'm actually quite disgusted. He used to be quite the player that I admired the most. Of the top three, of the Nadal, of course, Federer and Djokovic, he had become my favorite player because he was better than Nadal in some areas and better than Federer in some places. But what he did in Australia is selfish, and I think it's indicative of what we're seeing globally among some sports stars who seem to think that it's all about them. He will eventually retire one day, right? And then the sport will move on. But for now, as one of the top players, he should be setting an example. This pandemic is going on for way too long because of people like, and look, I'm not taking a position here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you have this pandemic is on, you have the opportunity to get vaccinated to help to end the pandemic. Why wouldn't you do it? You know, of course, we see now where the French government is blocking him, Spain is blocking him potentially as well. So he's going to have a rethink about where he goes in terms of his position on vaccines and whether or not he wants to violate a country's laws just to be able to play and prove that he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, you know, definitely the competition misses him, but he has to get himself in order before he comes back to compete, because without a doubt he is the world number one.
He is world number one, but as Rafael Nadal said, he knew the rules,
and
he's known the rules for a long time. Remember, Australia and New Zealand have some of the strictest antivirus rules on the planet, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
With the population of Australia, just over 21 million people, I think, they've had just over 2,000 deaths, and there's a reason for that, and I think he should respect that, and I think his legacy for me is ruined because of, or partially ruined because of what this past saga has been.
Yeah, well, a lot still to come on today's show, including links from the Jamaica Premier League at UE and schoolboy football from Stats. Plus, we'll also discuss Mona High's removal from the Issa Walker Cup final, which leaves Craig Butler's team with no chance of winning a title this season. Up next, though, English Premier League as we analyse Chelsea's performance against Brighton.